A new point has emerged on the Eastern Front, known only to locals a few months ago. Dobropilia, an unremarkable city in Donbas, is now turning into the epicenter of one of the most chaotic battlefields of the war in Ukraine. Pay attention. This moment will determine if the Russian breakthrough becomes a disaster for Ukraine or a trap for the attackers. If Dobropilia falls, access to Pokrovsk and the Donbas agglomeration will be wide open. And that's the moment when each of you should pay close attention. Welcome to Beyond Borders, where we reveal hidden connections, power plays, and world-shaping conflicts. Why is Dobropilia important? It's not on a border or a major industrial center. Here, the entire front line's future is being determined. Why? Because its fall would make Pokrovsk and Mirnorad practically indefensible positions. It would also push the Russians towards Sloviansk and Kramatorsk, the heart of the Ukrainian Donbas. Dobropilia's surroundings aren't just flat steppe. The terrain includes shallow valleys and stream beds leading to the river. The winding torrents, small groves, and old mining sites provide natural shelters. For infantry and drone units, it's an ideal area for launching sudden strikes. For tanks and mechanized columns, however, these irregularities mean slowing down and the risk of ending up under crossfire. These details determine who has the advantage. Whoever can make better use of the terrain for concealment and quick movement can surprise the enemy. My Russian breakthrough in August, it all started in mid-August. At first, it looked like another one of those Russian attacks that would end in mud and craters. But this time, it was different. Infantry advanced in small groups, mechanized units joined, and the front suddenly broke. Russian forces broke through and advanced toward Dobropilia. At that point, things looked very bad for Ukraine. Initial reports of the Russian breakthrough sparked concerns it was more than a local success. Some whispered that if the salient wasn't disrupted soon, bigger cities could be at risk. There was even talk about Kramatorsk and Sloviansk. The idea that the Russian wedge could open the way to the heart of Donbas was terrifying for Kiev. This panic had its reasons. The new salient endangered the link between Dobropilia and Pokrovsk, with a risk of expanding south toward Mirnorad. If the Russians did that, they could bypass Ukrainian defenses and gain an advantage. This highlighted the Russian 51st Army's weakness. Analyst Konstantin Mashevitz said they overestimated their strength. They tried to encircle Pokrovsk and at the same time push the salient towards Dobropilia, but they lacked enough soldiers or equipment. The result? Yes, a dangerous breakthrough occurred, but the Russians also took on more than they could handle. Ukrainian counterattacks began just as the situation seemed to be spiraling out of control, and it didn't take long. The first counterattacks began almost immediately after the Russian breakthrough. Their goal was clear: to narrow and eventually cut off the salient before the attackers could dig in. And now pay attention, just a few days after the breakthrough, the first signs appeared that Ukraine might be able to turn the situation around. The Russians reached the road between Dobropilia and Kramatorsk, advancing up to 10 kilometers into Ukrainian lines. Then came a turning point when the Ukrainian army confirmed it had retaken 6 villages in this area. Analysts from Deep State and the Conflict Intelligence Team report that Ukrainians may have liberated up to 7 villages, disrupting the entire Russian wedge. On the map, you can see the liberated areas in green. These were not just cosmetic successes. Just days after warnings of an advance on Kramatorsk and Sloviansk, the front has begun to break in the area. The Russians could no longer hold the area and had to withdraw from several villages, narrowing their breakthrough. Ukrainian units continued with further attacks. They advanced near Shakov and Volodymyrivka, from where, according to Deep State, they drove the Russians out. They advanced toward Rezin and Novotoretsky on the east side. Russian units in the salient are 4 kilometers from encirclement. Analysts from the Conflict Intelligence Team point out that if the Ukrainians managed to push the Russians back to the Kazini-Torets River, this river could become a natural barrier and protect Pokrovsk from further breakthroughs. And finally, one very concrete proof that these counterattacks were not just symbolic. According to the Azov Regiment, up to 69 Russian soldiers were captured in the Dobropilia area over the course of a month. Those are not just numbers. It's a sign that some Russian units have fallen into chaos, lost cohesion, and instead of advancing soldiers, they're turning into columns of prisoners. We're not done yet. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. It will help it reach more people. And if you want to support my work, you can do so with a small contribution as a thank you. Thank you. Let's keep going. The situation in the northern Salient, chaos and a gray zone. In the north of the Salient, the front is changing literally from hour to hour. Deep State reports that only Counterattacks village remains under Russian control, and it is completely isolated. It's obvious when you look at the map. No connection to the rear, just an isolated enclave of Russian soldiers surrounded on all sides. Pay attention, here's where a strange paradox happens. Russian units in the south are attempting to break through to link the village with the main forces. And at the same time, those who are stuck in Counterattacks are trying to break through to the north, to the village of Vesele. The result? Chaotic maneuvers, where the lines move back and forth and no one really knows whether it's still defense or already an attack. So the word that best describes the situation is chaos. The Ukrainian channel Dostojnik sees the chances of success as 50-50. Neither side has a clear victory, with intense fighting over every house and meter. Time is not on Ukraine's side. The longer the Russians hold out in Counterattacks, the greater the chance they'll move new reinforcements to this threatened point. Pay attention. If Counterattacks is isolated and cleared, the whole salient could collapse. Otherwise, it could enable a new Russian offensive. Pokrovsk is another target at risk of encirclement. Dobropilia is only a prelude. The main goal of the Russian offensive is Pokrovsk. The city and Mirnorod together form a large agglomeration. Recently, it was a key logistics hub for supplying Ukrainian forces in Donbas, but that's no longer true. Constant Russian attacks have made Pokrovsk too dangerous, and most of the supply routes have been moved further west. However, that doesn't mean Pokrovsk has lost its significance. For Ukraine, it's still a large city and a symbol of stability in western Donbas. For Russia, it's a gateway to potentially reach Sloviansk and Kramatorsk. Now pay attention. Ukrainian soldiers say Russian tactics have changed in recent weeks. They're shifting from small infantry units to mechanized strikes with armored vehicles, signaling a larger attack is being prepared. Analysts from the 7th Airborne Corps say Russia is planning a decisive breakthrough here, deploying large numbers of troops and equipment. The 155th Russian Naval Infantry Brigade has already appeared on the front, and the 40th, which were relocated here from the Sumy region. Heavy equipment is joining them, accumulating in Donetsk and gradually moving toward the front. Ukrainian sources speak of 5 brigades preparing for deployment. Pay attention here. The way the Russians use their air force has also changed. They used to attack only the front line, but now they strike deeper into the rear, with tragic results. Ukrainian sources say nearly all apartment buildings in Pokrovsk were damaged by August. They are destroying both positions and what's left of life, but Ukraine is not staying passive. New units are heading towards Pokrovsk and Dobropilia to strengthen the defense against the expected major attack. Analysts from Unit Observer report the 156th has been moved to the sector. Mechanized brigade. At the same time, the Ukrainian command is preparing to move the elite 80th Airborne units and the 95th Brigade. However, it's likely not the entire brigades, but only parts of them. Dobropilia, once known only to local miners and farmers, has recently become a symbol. A symbol of the war in Donbas, chaotic, brutal, and evenly matched. Here, it's not just about one village or one outpost. It's about whether the Russian advance can be stopped before Pokrovsk, or if the front will break, opening the way to Sloviansk and Kramatorsk. And a final warning, right now, time favors Russia. Ukraine needs not only courage and quick counterattacks, but also reinforcements, equipment, and support from the West. Otherwise, even a small salient could become a larger threat. Dobropilia represents the whole war. In its ruins, you can see a reflection of what is happening along hundreds of kilometers of the front. Here, it may become clear if Ukraine can shift the war in its favor again. If you like the video, I'd appreciate a like and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next ones I'm working on. You can support my work through gratitude, and if you want to help the video reach more people, click on praise. I appreciate it.